Welcome to NDTR Spotlight, the corner of the internet where NDTR shine. I'm your host, Marie Lorraine, and it's our pause and review this week. We are going to take some time just to pick out some highlights from the 4 interviews that we had this past month, a little bit over a month. And the thing I found that was consistent in all of these interviews I had was talking about dealing with clients. We haven't really spoken about that area as DTRs yet. So I wanted to dive into the similarities or the comments I heard in regards to talking with clients. And the first one I wanted to start off with was with Lavonda. She is the DTR who has like over 30 years experience working as a DTR and has had a very fulfilling and intriguing career that was so fun to learn about. But in one of the topics that came up was working with her clients. She has a private practice, and she was explaining how she has to really work with her clients, how clients might not like her, and how she can't just tell clients not to eat something. So let's check out how she explained what that was like for her.
Make sure they're feeling good about the changes they've made. And I had one, I was telling them to get back with me in a week, and I didn't hear back from her. And she goes, "Oh my God, I hated you so bad." And then I got used to my diet. I felt so much better. And now I'm ready to talk to you again. But she at least admitted that she felt bad. So, I mean, a lot of people won't even admit, when you go from high carbs and you have to moderate them, or sugar, you have to moderate it, your body's in shock. And they just won't tell you. But I like people that are honest with me, because I take it, I laugh, I'm sarcastic with it and joke, and it's all good. It's all good. I want to make them feel good. And I try to personalize it. I even had a pilot that couldn't do without his Pringles. And he said, "I got to have my Pringles." And I said, "Let's measure it out, put them in a Ziploc bag." And, I find out what is it they cannot live without, because
I think that's such a good perspective to know that a client might not like you because you're making their lives better. It's just working and doing nutrition coaching and counseling can be tricky because it's challenging for both parties. You want that person to be eating healthy and they want to, but then it's a challenge and a change. And so we're going to switch it a little bit. So Lavonda works with healthy patients. Emily, a DTR who's working in a hospital currently, or was, now she's doing her dietetic internship, explained what it was like dealing with sick patients. A topic we don't necessarily talk about a lot, but it is very important to understand and be aware of if you want to or are working in clinical nutrition.
This learning curve, which isn't nutrition related at all, but dealing with sick people, dealing with inpatients, sick people who are just woke up, lying down on their bed, not really caring what you're saying. Going into it, because hopefully someone's told you that not everyone cares about nutrition and not everyone is going to care about what you have to say, but dealing with it firsthand, like right in front of you, I will say is quite shocking. I like to think that I get along with a lot of people. I love, having that conversation with people, but your passion can't be forced onto someone. So I'd say that was the biggest hurdle. And I will often get very nervous walking into a room because you just don't know what you're walking into. All of our rooms in the hospital, except for a couple in the ICU, are private rooms, which is really nice. You're not having a conversation with another patient like on the other side of a bed or something like that, so you are very private. But even then, sometimes they're super blunt and they just may say something rude, and then you just don't know how to respond, and you're like, okay, well, I hope you have a nice day.
Yeah. So kind of on the similar track of dealing with sick patients, now we're going to switch to the mental illnesses that are just as irrelevant and need to be addressed. And Yolanta, she is working at an eating disorder clinic, and we got to talking about what it was like coaching and counseling those patients and what language is used and how to really help them, and how it may differ based on the eating disorder they have, whether it's bulimia or anorexia. And Yolanta does a great job explaining just a little bit of what it's like to, work with a client who's suffering from something like this.
Like, so we would have the same philosophy with redirecting them in terms of, noticing what they're doing and then saying, can you do this instead? Having a very neutral tone about it. But since their eating disorder kind of manifests in different ways, then you would say there would be different conversations around it usually. Like, for example, an anorexic patient versus a patient with.
Okay, so last but not least, we have to talk about DTRs and dietitians, right? And their perception of things and how they are interpreting things. So we come in with a lot of biases, especially when we're talking about weight. And it was really interesting talking to Sabrina. We had a conversation about diversity, and she brought into the topic, a common topic, which is weight, health at every size. That's definitely trending now, but she brought it to the practitioner's role, like DTRs and dietitians coming off, just explaining things that were unprompted. I'm going to let her explain, and you watch that clip just to see a little bit of what she was getting into.
Things that I noticed. And then I worked with a couple dietitians who unprompted explained to me why they were overweight and what they were doing about it. And I just, I felt so much compassion for these women because, I mean, that's another thing too. They were women. I've only met a handful of men. But these women, they felt that they needed to justify their body size to me unprompted. And that gave me great pause. I am a fat person as well, and I use fat in a neutral sense because that's what describes my body. And so I think there is a lack of body diversity in the profession as well. And even just learning about fat bodies and in a neutral sense and destigmatizing what it means to be any size of a body. I've also worked with straight size dietitians too, whose clients didn't trust them because they would never know what it's like to be fat. So why would I listen to you? So I've seen it go both ways. And that has kind of spurred my curiosity into the social aspects of weight, which brought me to learning a little bit more about health at every size, which I guess was also part of my continuing education, but also just, asking questions about the social aspects of things. Like, why is it this way? And how is that impacting people, that don't necessarily share my identity, or they do, what is that like? And how can I mitigate any harm that could potentially come from that?
Those are all the clips from our last 4. I hope that they were of interest to you. If any of the interviewers or people you saw talking spiked your interest and you want to check out their full interview, don't hesitate. Make sure you listen to the whole thing. There's so many awesome nuggets within every single podcast that I put out. Make sure you like and subscribe. Again, that's just so helpful to know that what I'm doing is being appreciated, is being watched, is being wanted. I only do this because people are watching. If people weren't watching, I would not put the work in. But I appreciate seeing the views go up, seeing the comments, seeing the likes. And to me, that means that people are learning what the NDTR credential is, and people are finding other DTRs and finding that this field, this little niche, this little component in the Eat Right nutrition world is relevant and a very important aspect of nutrition professionals. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching or listening.